Hey everybody, check this out. Naftali is going to be joining me here in just a second. But here's the deal: we've been working on a few different dynamics with him to coordinate everything going on because of all the things obviously going on in Israel with the rockets, the war that Israel is currently engaged in. So we're coordinating some things with Naftali. We're looking to be able to have him on again Tuesday or Thursday this week. So what I'm going to show you right now, because we tried to get him right now, we recorded a session with him a couple of weeks back before the missiles from Yemen, before the missile from the Houthis, before the walkie-talkies, before the pagers. So what you're going to be able to do is compare what we were talking about a few weeks ago to where we are right now with everything we know going on in Israel. And then as we're working to coordinate everything with them. Again, we're looking to have them here either Tuesday or Wednesday or Thursday this week. Be paying attention to that. But check this out right now. Fascinating to see a few weeks ago, see where we are now, and be praying that he's going to be able to get on here with us again tomorrow, Wednesday, Thursday. God bless. Welcome, everybody, to Hope for Our Times, and I have a very special program for you today. We do, and I have guests I've never had on before. Hananya Naftali is joining us all the way from Israel. He's a prominent Israeli speaker and influencer in the fight against anti-Semitism, terrorism, and the assault on the state of Israel. He has been part of Prime Minister Netanyahu's digital team for 6 years. He's also served in the Israeli army, fought Hamas during the Gaza war in 2014, and treated Syrian wounded civilians as a combat medic. And today, with over 3 million social media followers, he passionately defends Israel by sharing the truth about his country. Please welcome for the first time, Mr. Naftali. Thank you so much for joining us.
It's a big pleasure for me. Thank you very much.
This is great. You know, I've been following you for quite some time, and I really appreciate your regular updates all day long sometimes to keep people informed about the facts that are going on. And I have several questions to ask you about the media. I want to know about your time in battle. So many different questions to ask you. But I do need to get into Judea and Samaria, AKA the West Bank, because of the problems there. And we just had the recent news of the Allenby terrorist attack in a bus station that was hit by a truck intentionally. I watched the video. All these different dynamics going on. Naftali, I almost don't know where to begin, but I'm just going to begin with this thought. Can you tell us a little bit about your background and how has your experience serving in the Israeli army and working as a combat medic shape your approach to advocating for Israel?
Well, first of all, I think that it's absolutely amazing to have this conversation, because I think that we're going to provide some insights that the viewers have never heard before. So I would definitely recommend people to stick around. As for myself, I was actually born and raised in the Galilee, in the Upper Galilee, and I grew up in Samaria. So I grew up in the middle of the conflict of the heartland of Israel. And I have to say that growing up in Israel really shapes you in a different way. A lot of people that come to Israel and meet with young men and women that had been through the military service, they always say that they sense this maturity in young people. And I have to say that that's something that when you grow up in Israel, you aspire to defend your homeland, because we understand that we don't have any other country to go to. There is no going back to anywhere, and that is the secret of ours, actually, that we have nowhere else to go to. And so, yeah, I was born and raised in Israel. Later, I joined the Israel Defense Forces. I served in the Armored Corps for 3 years, in which I also became a combat medic. And I have to say that really changed my perspective in the defense of Israel, because I used to be very shy. I didn't know how to speak English properly, and I didn't understand a lot about this whole digital world. But when I was in the battlefield in 2014, that changed me because I saw how my country is being portrayed by the mainstream media, how people hate Israel. They love to hate Israel. And I just thought that it was outrageous that it has become a trend, just like a fashionable trend to just hate on Israel. So I said, you know what? I will do my best to tell the story of Israel, basically portray the reality that, hey, guys, we're not perfect, but we're nothing like they say about us. We're a country that is strong, that's right, but we have the right to defend ourselves. So I think that if we try to concise that into in a short answer, so that definitely shaped my way of defending Israel as I do today.
Yeah, I look at it and think Israel is such a tiny nation. There's very few Jews in the entire world. But the propaganda war is just unbelievable. And that's where Israel is on its heels, it seems, all the time. And apart from voices like yours or programs like this, it's like the mainstream media is actually never going to defend Israel. Certainly the governments of the world aren't going to. You said something really key too. You don't have any place to go. I mean, I'm looking at news. New York City Jews aren't allowed there. I live a couple hours outside of Los Angeles. My Jewish friends feel a little bit more insecure in Los Angeles than they used to. And that's coming from America, let alone you look at Europe. So people will say, well, you need to leave Israel. Well, where are you going to go? You know, when you hear Iran constantly saying, with their song, and the song's coming out of universities in America, from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. In other words, let's kill all the Jews. By the way, everybody, maybe you've noticed over Naftali's right shoulder, he has Bill Koenig's book, Eye to Eye. Bill was just on our program recently. As you know, he's such a big supporter of Israel. Okay, let me ask you some more, and then we're going to really get into details about combat, what's going on. But this is a big deal. It's been reported 40,000 people have been killed by Israel. And you did a video on that, what the media won't tell you. What are the main misconceptions, and what is the real story behind the media coverage?
Absolutely. I think that that's a headline that, probably every American household has seen. Israel is butchering civilians. Israel is killing children. The killing has to stop. And, it's very, I have to say, Israel is not a weak country, as I've previously stated. Israel is a strong country. But people are forgetting that you being strong doesn't mean you being the aggressor. Just as Hamas is losing the war, that does not make them the victim. And I have to say that Israel has actually achieved something extraordinary in this war by reaching a historic low combatant to civilian ratio of 1-to-1. And again, it's tragic. It's not something that should be celebrated or anything like that. It's a strategy. It's a tragedy when a civilian is killed. But to Hamas, killing civilians is a strategy. Israel is doing its utmost best in avoiding civilian casualties, but that is very difficult considering the fact that Hamas is hiding behind civilians, launching rockets dressed as civilians and from civilian neighborhoods. They don't care about civilians. We saw videos coming out from Gaza of Hamas militants, terrorists, beating civilians who dared to take humanitarian aid that is meant for the civilians in the first place. So I have to say that these are the key points here. That first of all, you have to remember that the health ministry in Gaza is run by Hamas. They count the same, the big 40,000 number, which by the time that we're talking here has surpassed. They're counting Hamas casualties as well. They're counting misfired rocket casualties from the early days of the war. They're counting it all in under this one big number called civilian casualties. But I do have to say that even though I'm giving the facts here, I have to say, on a personal level, as an Israeli who came out of Gaza a few months ago, it breaks my heart. The Palestinian people are not my enemy. When I was there, my target was not Palestinian people. It was Hamas terrorists. When I wore military uniforms, it was not to target civilians, but to defend my family. Because we saw very well what Hamas did on October 7 when they infiltrated civilian villages, homes, not just military bases. They ran to homes. And I have to say, I will spare you and the audience what I saw with my own eyes when I visited these kibbutzim in southern Israel.
Yeah. Just looking at this and the threats that are now in Judea and Samaria, and hearing that when it comes to, I think it's 85% of the Palestinian people are supporting Hamas, or seem to be, from what I've read in some of the polls. I want to ask you about that in a second too. But everybody, on October 13th, Hananya is going to be joining me Sunday night at 412 Church in Temecula. This last time, John Howler joined us. This time, he's going to be joining us October 13th, 5 o'clock p.m. It's free. There's no need to register. Just show up, and it will be a terrific time. You'll be able to meet him, plus myself, for all of you who I haven't met yet, but we'd love to see you. October 13th, mark your calendars for that Sunday night. Okay, let me go back to this. You lived in, I think you said Samaria, you grew up, the area of Samaria?
Yes, right above Jenin.
Right above, okay, I was going to ask you about that because you grew up in the community where you would have had interaction with people who call themselves Palestinians all the time. And yet we hear the numbers, 85%, 90% are supporting Hamas. I mean, I've been to Israel many times, and I have Jewish friends, I have Jewish Christian friends, I have Arab Muslim friends, but I'm seeing this dynamic. Things have changed, and how do you know who to trust? Can you trust people? And you said you don't hate the people when you went into Gaza, doing what you needed to do for the military. You look at it, how do you work with that? And especially with this part, with what you see coming from anti-Semitism from not just the left in America, but also those who are on the right, because I see it more and more on social media, how awful Israel is, and dealing with this dynamic.
Absolutely. That's a whole huge topic that I've been following very closely, that there is anti-Semitism rising right from far right as well as far left, and it is concerning because it's very easy to hide behind conspiracies, and when you just ask a question, it's like, I'm just here to ask the question, but you can do that in a very misleading way by laying facts that end up not actually being facts. It's something that I'm very passionate about. I have to say, growing up in Israel. And Israel is where I was born, where I live. And I have to say the dynamics are very, very different. Because we Israelis, when you talk about us, you're talking about 21% of us who are Arab. They have the same passport as I do. They can get elected. They're in the parliament. When I go to the doctor, oftentimes I meet an Arab doctor that helps me. When I get my groceries, it's normally an Arab delivery person that delivers it. We're not scared, and I always say, even in the darkest times that Israel is facing, an interesting statistic is that Israel was still ranked the fourth happiest country in the world, and I think it's because we don't take things for granted. Now I'm speaking to you from my office, and I'm so happy about it because I can see the sky. I can go out. Months ago, I was not it was we were with our shoes on wherever we went, because we were very alert. But my point is that when I served in the army, we were shoulder to shoulder with Arabs, with Muslims, with Christians. I think that what we're facing up against is radicalism, and radicalism is a threat to all of us, Muslims, Christians, Jews. So I think it's very interesting. Regarding Judea and Samaria, people call it the West Bank. We can talk about it later if you want. I joined actually a mission with the Israeli SWAT unit called Yassam just a few weeks ago, seeing firsthand how they operate in Judea and Samaria, preventing another October 7th style infiltration into Israel from within us. So I just have to summarize it up. I have to say Israel is facing a multi-front war, 7 different fronts, and it is all sponsored, funded by Iran, the head of the snake, the Islamic regime in Iran. And you know what? They don't care if Arabs die here. They don't care if Christians die here, if Jews die here. All they want to see is the destruction of Israel, home to Jews, Christians, and Muslims, and Druze and Circassians.
Yeah, and with the Druze, I think it was a drone attack, wasn't it? About a month and a half ago, to
a rocket attack, yeah,
a soccer field, and it killed the Druze, which caused a little bit of pushback, but not too much. They got over that quick, and Hezbollah started right back up again. I want to ask you in a minute about, you just returned from the north with the threat of Hezbollah. It's such a big deal right now. But can you explain to all of our viewers the problem that there is in Judea and Samaria, and why it is such a problem?
Right. So this is basically, the heartland of Israel, where the majority of biblical stories, that's where they took place. And people like to turn to Judea and Samaria, the West Bank, when they want to refer to apartheid, to occupation. And these are very big words that people are using. But actually, when you come and you look at the facts, you see that they're very different. Actually, before Israel took over the West Bank, Judea and Samaria, it was under Jordanian control. From 48 to 67, it was Jordanian and also Egyptian. But the point is that if you dig, you put a shovel, you will find that Jewish history, not a Palestinian one. I have to say, this year I got the blessing of being able to travel and talk about Israel. In one of these trips to Europe, I countered an anti-Israel protest outside one of my events, which was interesting. 10 people were protesting outside against me, against Israel, while there were 1,000 people inside wanting to hear about Israel. And of course, you can guess where the media was. Of course, they were focused on the 10 people outside. But I have to say, we had a conversation, and I told them, I'm willing to leave Israel. I'll pack my bag. I'll leave Israel. I don't know where, but I'll leave Israel the minute you show me who was the Palestinian king. What is the history of the Palestinians before the age of television? I'm not saying this as to disrespect, but I'm saying I'm willing to respect whatever you want to call yourself, but I will demand the respect back. The point of Judea and Samaria, it's 21% of Israel's population. About 500,000 Israelis live there. And this is a boiling point, really, because that's where the Palestinian Authority has its control for the first time, by the way, thanks to Israel, after the Oslo Accords. So I have to say that your focus on Judea and Samaria is very rightful. And when I joined the mission with the Israeli Special Police Unit, I saw that they're taking it very seriously. We entered one of the Palestinian towns outside Ramallah, a major Palestinian city, and stones were thrown at us. They were looking for ammunition, weapons. And what I saw that really shook me is to see children as young as 10, 6, 5 years old throwing stones at us. And you got to tell yourself, how, they're too young to understand what they're doing. The answer is that they're being incited to hate Israel. And the only solution to this ongoing conflict, in my opinion, is education. And the Judea and Samaria is a very problematic situation. That's the Palestinians say that this is their land. The people who support the two-state solution say that this should be the heartland of Israel, should be the Palestinian state. I'll end this and say that I think it's interesting, quite funny that they say, they want the two-state solution. When I asked them, so where should I go? They didn't quite find the answer to that.
Yeah, they can't find an answer to that. The Jews are being kicked out of every place on the planet, and where are you going to go? It is a spiritual dynamic. We understand what the Bible says about that. My viewers hear it from me like all day long, every day. If we have time, maybe we'll get into it also with you from your Israeli perspective. But I think I love going to Israel. I was there recently in March, took a tour group there, and one of the days we were up by the Jaffa Gate, and I had to get a taxi. I walked over to, where all the taxis are. They're all lined up there at the gate. Nobody's getting in them because we were like the only tourists that were there. But I went over and talked with one of the drivers, and he said, he was Arab, an Arab Muslim, and he said I was his first customer since October 7th. And you look at that, that hasn't gotten better. People aren't going. And I love taking groups. In fact, I have a tour group coming in March to Israel. I'm really excited about, because we go to the places that are safe, and you mentioned education, and you see what it's really like. You find out how much the Western media is really lying. But I mean, you go to the places where these events took place. I wish I could take people to Shechem right now. I'm hoping I can take them to Shiloh, and some of those other places. But I mean, to be in Jerusalem, the Mount of Olives, the Sea of Galilee, or wherever it is going to be great. In fact, I want to invite anybody that's watching, hey, join me in March for the tour that we have. It's only going to be one bus, by the way. Just one, because I'd like to. I know people want to meet me if I'm there, if they travel with me. So I'm only going to have one bus. It'll fill up, and that's it. And I would love to have you join us. But we do go to the safe places, and it will blow your mind if you've never been before. You'll be so happy. You'll know why Hananya is smiling the whole time we're talking too, because it's just so amazing to go to the city of David, the Pool of Siloam or Shiloh, and see these things. And I don't know, maybe I can talk you into joining us for an hour or something, just coming out and saying hi when we're there. But I'm excited about it. Join us, everybody. Just go to the events page, and you will be so blessed to go, and you'll find out why 29,000 Jews have done their aliyah. They've made their citizenship in Israel during a time when the country is at war, because they feel safer in Israel than they do in Los Angeles and New York and all these other areas. That's a fact. And but Joyce, you'll be blessed. Okay, enough of my excitement. Let me go back to you. But I love going there. I'm going to be there coming up in a couple of weeks. October 1st, I'm going to be able to do videos from there for all you guys. I can't wait to go there. And that's not with a tour group, but just going there, and I'm excited about it. But I don't know, I just love going there. I love taking people there, and it's so cool.
I think it's amazing because Israel is such a small country, so you don't even need to travel too much. That's something that a lot of people who come to Israel are always surprised. It's like, oh wow, Jerusalem! I can visit Jerusalem, the Sea of Galilee, Tel Aviv, Caesarea, all in one day. I'll take it.
Yeah, no kidding. It's so cool. Let me ask you this. You were recently up north. Hezbollah is a problem. As you mentioned, everything is funded by Iran. Iran is the problem. And you know what? The majority of the Persian people do not like what's happening to them from their government. I've done a lot of reports on that. with some of my Persian friends or Iranian friends, but they're funding it. But Hezbollah is a big problem. You just returned. What are some of the takeaways that you think we need to know you'd like to share?
So it's actually quite the reality there is quite grim and sad. We're talking today. Earlier today, I was up north, and I was there first of all because that's where I grew up. My parents still live in the north, and right now there are tens of thousands who are displaced. I think the number stands at around over 60,000 Israelis are refugees in their own country. And I visited Capernaum today. I was on the way to a meeting, and it was actually quite nice. I saw two small groups, one speaking English, Spanish. So it was beautiful to see that, encouraging to me as an Israeli, that people are coming and, as a bold statement that I'm not scared. And if I want to come and bless Israel, I'm going to come. I'm leaving Capernaum, going, and you see hills of the Galilee. Some are green and some are burnt from Hezbollah rockets, suicide drones that were launched. It's a war zone right now, and Hezbollah is launching rockets and suicide drones into Israel on a daily basis. Just a couple of days ago, I visited Kiryat Shmona, a city of about 30,000 civilians living there, which is a ghost town now. And, that's a question I'd like to ask our American friends. If you lived in a city that came under, I'm not saying, 20 rockets a day, one rocket, one time, you would not tolerate this. You would want your country, your army, to do whatever is necessary to make sure that you're safe. And that is exactly what Israel is doing. For the folks here that aren't familiar with Hezbollah or don't know too much about it, this is basically a radical Islamic Shia organization, terror organization in Lebanon. They were founded essentially with the help of Iran. And the reason for that is because Iran is wanting to using them as a proxy to attack Israel. That's what Iran is doing these days with the Houthis, with the Iraqi militias, with Hamas, with Palestinian terrorists in Judea and Samaria. Hezbollah is one of them. And I have to say that Hezbollah has an insane amount of rocket and missile arsenal. It is considered to be the strongest, the most powerful semi-army in the world for a terrorist organization. Some people even say that it has more power than some countries militarily. So it's a major threat that Israel is facing. And I have to say the Galilee, where I was born, where I grew up, it's home to, I think, around 2/3 of the Galilee are Arabs. And when Hezbollah fires rockets and suicide drones, every day the Arabs who live in the Galilee, the Israeli Arabs, they run to the bomb shelter, just like us. The rockets, the drones, they don't distinguish between Jews and Arabs. They don't check your blood before they hit you. They just want to kill you. And this is a very saddening reality, that people are displaced, homes have been bombarded. But I have to say that I see the hope in this, and we know how this story is going to end. Israel is going to emerge victorious. We don't have any other option.
So well said. By the way, I would encourage you to follow Hananya on his social media platforms, any of them, if not all of them. He has over 3 million followers. I happen to be one of them. And I absolutely love the updates that you do. And we have all of the information in the description there. So you can just go there and follow him. And all those, as mentioned, he'll be out on October 13th at 412 Church in Temecula, joining me there. When I think of also with all the Arabs, from what I can tell, it seems to me that Iran just wants a head count of dead people. They don't care who they are, men, women, children. They don't care how many are civilians. They could care less because they'll blame Israel. Just like you mentioned earlier on, you have the rockets that go up in Gaza. Many of those rockets come right back down from close to the area that they were launched from. So the head count just gives them more of a social, it helps them win the propaganda war, even if they kill them themselves. But the media will never report on that. And again, even people on the right won't report on that. Let me ask you this. What are some of the key responsibilities you've had as part of Prime Minister Netanyahu's digital team?
So that's a very interesting topic. I actually started working for the Prime Minister when I was 22. So I just got out of my military service. I wanted to interview the Prime Minister, and long story short, now I work for him. It's been over 6 years, and I am part of his digital team of advisors. So basically, we to simplify this, we run his whole media operation, and that has been an absolutely it's a blessing to be able to help the Prime Minister, especially in times like this. And you really see how a leader thinks, what is important to him. And I think that people can have different opinions. And in my opinion, I think that the Prime Minister is the right leader for the right time, and especially for times like this. He's a strong leader that knows how to deal with the enemies of Israel, and most importantly, he knows when to say no and when to say yes.
That's great. When I look at what's going on in Israel, there's opposition to Netanyahu, but I would expect that. Any country's going to have that. But here you are, you're in a wartime, and you see what the media, again, the Western media focuses on is the people in Israel that don't like Netanyahu. How does someone like you process that? Because, I mean, here you are, you got anti-Semitism all over the world. You're in a war, as you mentioned, 7 fronts. If you count the propaganda war, that's the biggest front of all. That's the battle you're fighting. And by the way, what you do inspires me. So to help me do my part for that. But I mean, how does someone like you process that?
I think that it's we've had protests also before the war, and while I have different opinions on how protests, the structure of a protest. I don't think that a protest should block a major highway, but I think that it's beautiful that protests are taking place. Because Israel is a vibrant democracy. People can protest against the government of Israel and go back to sleep. Nothing will happen to them. People can even protest. We've seen pro-Palestinians having protests in Israel, in Haifa, in the Tel Aviv campus, waving the flag of Palestine. If you listen to the mainstream media, you would think that by the evening they're going to be in jail. No, they protest, they go back home. This is a democracy. Israel is the one democracy in the Middle East. I would expect fellow residents of democracies across the world to support the one democracy, because we are facing a war that is not just, sure, Israel is fighting this war, but it's actually fighting your war as well. Because what do you think is going to happen if Israel is going to lose this war? Do you think that they're going to settle for Palestine, quote unquote? Of course not. Israel is at the forefront of this, not just at the forefront of medically, with innovation, with military technology. No, Israel is at the forefront of making sure that your future is secured. That is why I think that the Bible talks so passionately about Israel. Almost every book, every page you turn to, you will probably see the word Israel. It means that Israel has such an important role in the end times, in the times that we live in. But most importantly, Israel, we Israelis are just like you guys. We're normal people. We wanna live our lives. We're tired of wars. When I got called to go to the army on, it was emergency duty, not just reserve duty, emergency duty. It's the little things. I had my wife, and I go to literally to the military base to get the equipment and to go from there. I don't know where. I didn't know when's the next time I'm gonna see my wife. If I will see my wife, I would much rather, as all of us, the Israelis, we would much rather stay at home with our family, watch a movie maybe, have some barbecue, than to be in the battlefield. We're tired of wars. We don't like wars. And that is why I think that it's absurd. The mainstream media is portraying us like we were warmongers. We're thirsty for blood. Absolutely false.
Yeah, you're even accused of blood libel and all sorts of insane things, including apartheid. And I look at how many Jews live in Iraq, how many Jews live in Libya, Saudi Arabia, start realizing, well, wait a minute, since 1948, the Jews have pretty much been driven out of all of those lands, yet Arabs haven't been driven out of any of the lands. And then when you look at Gaza, going back to 2005, Gaza was thriving. Then Israel pulled out.
Exactly. And, we live in a world where people would rather read a headline than to read the full story. And, people base their opinions off of social media posts. And that is why what you mentioned, the war on social media is so vital and important, because it's so easy to spread fake news. People don't care about facts. They care about emotional stories, even if they're AI generated stories or made up stories. But Israel cares about the truth and the facts, which I wish that we live in a world where mainstream media would not have a political agenda, but would focus on reporting the facts. I'm not asking people to love Israel. Of course, I would love that. But I want people to know what's going on in Israel and make an opinion that is their own.
That's based on facts that they actually see. I agree. I've told people that have been so anti-Israel and anti-Semitic, I say, well, why don't you go over to Israel with me? Let's go visit some of these places so you can actually see what the truth is about these different dynamics. And by the way, you are a believer in Yeshua, Jesus?
Yes, I'm Jewish. I believe in Jesus. Correct.
And so I mean, I have a lot of Jewish friends that believe in Jesus. I have a lot of Jewish friends that don't. But living in Israel, how's that?
Well, living in the Holy Land, where there are different religions who are attracted to this country, that definitely can create some tensions. But I think that what's beautiful about Israel is that there's pluralism here. There's liberty, real one, not the fake one that's being pushed by some, I don't know, some agendas. You can believe in what you want. And sure, there's going to be a minority that's going to oppose what you believe in, but I chose to believe in Jesus. This is my freedom to do that. If people have a problem with my faith, it is their problem. I didn't make it a problem in the first place. But I have to say that there is freedom here. You can believe in what you want to believe, and the majority of the people here will respect you.
I agree. I love going there, and I find it also interesting that I can have freedom in conversations about Jesus and feel much more comfortable in Israel than I can here in the United States. You can go anywhere in Israel and walk down the street with the Bible. And here we hear, well, you can't evangelize when you're in Israel. Well, I mean, I've never been arrested for it. I've had many conversations about Jesus. One of my friends over there, Jeff Morgan, who's a believer in Jesus, he goes out on the streets of Tel Aviv all the time with his camera, and he's sharing his faith, asking people about their faith, and I think it's great. I wanted to get more into some of the dynamics of the combat, but we're running out of time. I'd like to have you maybe back on to talk about that. We'll definitely talk about these things, go into those details coming up in October. So you can update us on the physical war, what's going on, the real difficulties, the tunnel problems, and so forth. But the tunnels are a huge problem. All the threats with Hezbollah up north are an enormous problem. I guess maybe if we got 2 minutes on that, just as you look at the physical battle, what do you see is Israel's going to need to do?
Well, Israel is again, by the grace of God, is winning a multi-front war, just like Israel won the 6-day war. It's God's hand that is with Israel. I have to say, in regards to the tunnel threat, in Gaza, it's a sand ground. It's very easy to dig tunnels there. They have an entire network, hundreds of miles of tunnels. But up north, it's more of a rocky, mountains. It's much harder. And yet Hezbollah is digging tunnels, drilling. Residents up north were hearing for many years that their houses were shaking. And that comes together with what Hezbollah has said publicly, that they have a plan to conquer the Galilee. And they are ready to execute this plan. But I have to say that Israel is standing strong. And to conclude what we've talked about, Israel has a strong army, and Israel will never let the enemies of Israel win. We have no other choice but to win. And the spirit of that's something that our enemies don't understand. They can never break the spirit of the Israeli people. We have a spirit of resilience, of deep connection to the land of Israel, and we are never going to give up, just like our ancestors from King David that waged battles and won them all the way to the Maccabees. And today you see the modern day Maccabees, the Gen Z that is fighting the borders of Israel and making sure that the mother, the father, and the children can sleep well at night. And for that, they should be commended.
Yeah, you look at, when you're there, you see people 18, 19 years old, so young, that are going into these battles. There is a certain maturity in Israel. I think of also the prophecies from Zechariah chapter 12, where every man is going to be like David fighting. And you see this strange ability with Israel that makes no sense. Again, such a tiny country, such a small people. God even says, you were a small people. You were not a great number, but God has done remarkable things. Israel's always been here. Donald Trump said in his debate on September 10th that Israel would not exist in 2 years if he's not president. But the reality of it is, Israel's never going to go away, because I know what the Bible says, and I do know how all of this ends. The Jew is always going to be here, much to the chagrin of some people. But a couple of quick questions for you. What's been the most rewarding aspect of your work in defending Israel's image and narrative?
Well, one thing that touched my heart in particular is actually two things. In one of the speaking tours that I've had in Canada, as I boarded the plane back home, there's no feeling like going back, especially when you see the land of Israel from the plane. But anyways, this person came up to me and said, I am coming to Israel. I'm making Aliyah, immigrating to Israel, coming home because of your work. Another story that really touched my heart is an Egyptian that messaged me and said that he wanted to come to Israel, stab Jews via Jordan, enter via Jordan, stab Jews. I don't know how and why, but he said, I saw that you're making videos about Israel, that triggered me to do my research and to learn more. And he ended by saying, now you have a friend. These are the amazing victories over evil, over darkness.
That is truly amazing. And boy, those are two stories that just really are encouraging, especially for you and all that you do. Again, everybody, I would encourage you to follow Hananya, and you'll be so blessed. And you're going to be informed. Literally, he has updates every day, sometimes all day long, on exactly what is going on with Israel, with the wars, with the battles, with the terror attacks. You'll be informed, firsthand accounts. Encourage you to do that. Do you have any final thoughts? We've covered a lot of details today, but is there anything else that you'd like to share with the audience?
Well, I've saved the most important thoughts, as the last thought for the brave viewers that have lasted all the information and details, and it is to say thank you from the bottom of my Israeli heart on behalf of Israelis. We want to say thank you. You have no idea what it means to me as an Israeli. It makes my heart cry, tears of joy, when I see people that pray for Israel. They're not even Israelis. They don't have an Israeli passport. They're not Jews. They're over 1,000 miles away from Israel, and yet they get up or get down on their knees and they pray for Israel. They care about Israel, and that really touches the hearts of us Israelis. When you come to Israel, you'll see, if you tell people I come to Israel from America, from California, from this state or the other, you will see a smile because it touches the hearts of us Israelis. So I want to say thank you for all of you who have been faithful to the Word of God and to the Bible, and for showing your true colors of friendship in the darkest time that Israel is facing since the Holocaust.
Oh, thank you so much. Anything that I can do, I will do for you guys. I can't wait to see you in October. I'm kind of bummed out I won't see you when I'm there in Israel, but I'll see you when I get home because you'll be here. So we'll cross. Right. Maybe we'll cross in the sky or something, or something like that. And by the way, everybody, when I'm in Israel coming up in just a couple of weeks, just to reiterate this program. I did check with some of my Israeli friends. Would now be a good time to come out there, or would we be in the way? And every one of them, please come. We need the encouragement. There's nobody here. We see what's going on in the news. Please, please come. And it's just that support and encouragement. And again, another reason to go to Israel, everybody. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your schedule. I know you have a lot going on. I can't wait to see you October 13th. God bless you. Thank you, everybody, for joining us, and we will be talking to you soon. Shalom.
Shalom.